What if a ship could fly? Not quite a plane or a boat, but a monstrous machine skimming the waves at jet speeds, invisible to radar and sonar. This wasn't science fiction, but a Cold War secret weapon, the Soviet Ekranoplan. In the 1960s, the leader of the Soviet Union unveiled a tantalizing glimpse of an unprecedented technology, ships that could break free from the water and soar through the air. These were no ordinary ships. They defied all conventional categories, blending aircraft mechanics with maritime design. Developed in deep secrecy, these giant Ekranoplans, as they were known, promised a revolution in naval engineering. Yet, as swiftly as they emerged, they disappeared, leaving us to wonder. Tune in to find out what happened to these giant Ekranoplans, the futuristic ships that vanished from the skies. The 1950s belonged to hydrofoil, the undisputed speed demon of the seas. These ingenious boats boasted wings on their hulls. As they accelerated, the wings would slice through the water, lifting the vessel and minimizing drag. This resulted in a significant boost in speed, but even the most cutting-edge hydrofoils maxed out at a measly 110 kilometers per hour. They were limited by cavitation, a disruption in the lift caused by the hydrofoil's wings, a challenge that engineers struggled to overcome. A visionary Soviet engineer named Rostislav Alexeyev, however, wasn't satisfied with hydrofoils. He harbored a radical notion. What if he could ditch the water altogether? This meant venturing beyond hydrodynamics and into the realms of aerodynamics. But the potential payoff was mind-bending speeds. Alexeyev envisioned his vessels reaching such high velocities that they lift clear of the water's surface. But here's the twist. They wouldn't soar like traditional aircraft. Instead, they'd skim across the surface, nestled in a pocket of air. Pilots had observed a curious phenomenon for years. When landing or flying extremely close to the ground, their planes seemed to experience a surge of lift, almost resisting touchdown. This mysterious force was the ground effect. Alexeyev saw it as the key to revolutionizing ships. To validate his concept, Alexeyev meticulously crafted miniature models and compact prototypes. But to fully realize his vision, he'd need a significant resource boost. In the Iron Curtain climate of the 1960s Soviet Union, the only way to secure such backing was to showcase the military applications of his invention. Alexeyev's creations were known as Ekranoplans. These beasts skimmed the waves at jet-like speeds, hugging the surface where radar would struggle to detect them. Unlike submarines, they wouldn't be hindered by sonar, and their shallow draft allowed them to navigate waters inaccessible to traditional ships, offering a surprise attack advantage. Construction costs were another perk. Ekranoplans blended elements of aircraft and shipbuilding, making them simpler and cheaper to build than conventional warships. This ingenious design caught the eye of the Soviet military, and even the leader himself, Premier Nikita Khrushchev. A man with a penchant for audacious projects, Khrushchev recognized the potential of a weapon the Americans lacked. Funding became a gushing river, and Alexeyev's team went into overdrive. Empowered by the support, Alexeyev and his team rapidly advanced their designs. In 5 years, they transformed from building tiny prototypes to unveiling a behemoth that redefined naval power, the 265-ton KM. The KM resembled a machine ripped from a science fiction film. This colossus could travel at an astonishing speed of over 500 kilometers per hour while carrying a staggering payload of 600 tons. When it was completed in 1966, it was by far the largest flying machine ever built, boasting an impressive lift-to-drag ratio unmatched by any aircraft. To get this leviathan into ground effect, a unique approach was needed. 8 powerful jet engines mounted on the front of the craft blasted air beneath the wings, essentially creating a temporary hovercraft. Once the machine skimmed the surface and achieved ground effect, these forward jets would shut down, leaving only 2 engines to propel the 600-ton behemoth at aircraft-like speeds. To maintain stability while flying within the ground effect, a notoriously tricky proposition, the KM sported a giant tail, reaching an incredible 5 stories high, which provided crucial control at high speeds. The maiden voyage of the KM in 1966 proved Alexeyev's Ekranoplan concept could be writ large. This monstrous machine, a colossus of steel and jet engines, roared to life, demonstrating the potential for Ekranoplans to operate at massive scales. However, the KM wasn't without its growing pains. Maintaining this behemoth was a constant struggle. The unforgiving sea air and debris took a toll on its 10 jet engines, demanding meticulous and frequent maintenance. Operating the KM itself was a challenging feat. Pilots found navigating within the ground effect, essential for skimming the waves undetected, to be a physically demanding and mentally draining experience. Additionally, the KM's turning radius was enormous, requiring advanced warning from scouts about potential obstacles or oncoming vessels. Weather also posed a significant hurdle. While the KM supposedly handled waves up to 1.5 meters, any online search reveals only pictures and videos of it in calm waters. The reality, getting this Leviathan moving in anything choppier was a near impossible feat. The KM's operational window was limited to calm conditions, restricting its use primarily to smaller inland seas like the Caspian. Traveling on the open ocean was not feasible for the KM, reflecting the significant challenges faced by engineers pioneering a completely new type of vehicle from scratch. With additional developments, Alexeyev and his team might have been able to overcome many, if not all of the issues presented by the KM. However, by the time the KM took its first flight, the political landscape in the Soviet Union had changed. A new leader, Brezhnev, had taken power, and his approach was markedly different. Compared to his predecessors, Brezhnev was not inclined to take risks or wait patiently for experimental projects to mature. He viewed the development of Ekranoplans as an unnecessary gamble and preferred to focus on more traditional military projects. This shift was unfortunate news for Alexeyev and his innovative work. In 1968, Rostislav Alexeyev faced a significant career setback when he was demoted from director of the Hydrofoil Bureau to merely heading a shrinking Ekranoplan program. Confronted with numerous technical challenges and reduced resources, Alexeyev and his team shifted their efforts from the ambitious KM to a smaller, more manageable Ekranoplan. This new model was designed to transport about 150 troops, could roll onto beaches, and could even operate out of the ground. However, these added capabilities required compromises, such as a reduced lifting capacity comparable to a similarly sized seaplane. Despite these advancements, skepticism among the Soviet leadership about the practicality of Ekranoplans persisted, and only 3 of these models were commissioned into service by the Soviet Navy. While the Ekranoplans were fast, they could not escape the broader economic struggles of the Soviet Union. As resources continued to diminish, Alexeyev frequently clashed with Soviet officials. His frustration with the bureaucratic system peaked in 1975, leading to another demotion in his career. This demotion relegated Alexeyev to the role of an ordinary employee, marking a decline in his career, but not before he contributed to the development of one final Ekranoplan in the 1980s. This new model was smaller than the KM, but was equipped with 6 anti-ship cruise missiles, capable of striking targets over 100 kilometers away. Unfortunately, only one example of this model was ever built, and Alexeyev did not live to see it fly. Alexeyev passed away in 1980 at the relatively young age of 63 without fully realizing his visionary projects. By the mid-1980s, funding for Ekranoplan development had significantly decreased. With the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the few Ekranoplans that had been built were quickly decommissioned, ending nearly 4 decades of development. However, the belief in the potential of Ekranoplans persists within the former Soviet territories and around the world, with ongoing efforts focused on smaller ground effect vehicles. With the KM, Alexeyev and his team showed that the larger an Ekranoplan became, the better its performance. These machines flew higher, became more stable, and operated more efficiently when scaled up. This raised an intriguing possibility. Could an Ekranoplan significantly larger than the KM be the breakthrough needed to fully realize the technology's potential? Imagine a vehicle soaring 10 or 20 meters above the waves, capable of crossing oceans and transporting passengers and cargo more efficiently than conventional aircraft. Recent developments in Ekranoplan technology have reignited interest across the globe. Countries like China and Boeing have embarked on ambitious projects to harness this unique technology. For example, Boeing's Pelican initiative envisioned a colossal Ekranoplan named after the large waterbird. Stretching the length of a football field, it was designed to fly at incredibly low heights over the sea using the ground effect, improving fuel efficiency for transoceanic cargo transport. Despite its unveiling in 2002, further developments on the Pelican have been sparse, reflecting the challenging nature of these vehicles. Meanwhile, China has been actively investing in developing large-scale Ekranoplans for military and civilian applications, demonstrating a strong belief in their potential to revolutionize maritime logistics and naval operations. This continuing interest in Ekranoplans poses an intriguing yet unresolved question about their future potential. However, despite the promises, efforts to construct such an ambitious Ekranoplan have not secured the vast resources necessary for its development. As a result, for now, the vision of a giant Ekranoplan traversing the globe remains a fascinating yet unattainable relic of the Cold War era.